world is silent. The air is thick with mist. The sun rises over a land untouched by time. This valley has no name, no language, no memory, only beginnings. From the fog, a figure appears, a wanderer of an age before words. Bare feet press against the earth, each step guided by hunger, by instinct, by something deeper. He carries a rough stone in his hand, a fragment of the world itself. It is cold, heavy, meaningless, until he stops and looks closer. He kneels, breath slow, eyes fixed. There, beneath the dust, another stone lies waiting. He reaches, he feels, he wonders. Two pieces of earth, alike yet different. He strikes. Once. A sound breaks the silence of creation. Sparks, dust, light. Something ancient awakens. The edge gleams beneath the morning sun. It cuts not the air, but the barrier of instinct. For the first time, thought guides motion. Purpose is born. He tests it on bark, on branch, on time itself. A single stroke separates what once resisted. The world obeys. He looks to the sky. Clouds drift golden and slow. Nature watches him as if it knows. He stands holding the blade to the light. For the first time, man feels pride. The stone rises toward the sun, and with it, the dawn of power. The morning light grows stronger. His hands no longer tremble, they remember. He takes a branch, smooth and straight, and a sharp stone born from his own strikes. With fibers torn from vines, he binds them together. Wood and stone joined by thought. A new shape, a new purpose. He lifts it, unsure, curious. The point catches the sunlight and something within him stirs. He drives it into a fallen log. The wood yields. The sound echoes through the valley. In that instant, he understands. This is more than survival. It is power. For the first time, the world answers his will. A weapon is born. And with it, the beginning of everything that will follow. He no longer wonders, he knows. The spear in his hand feels alive, an extension of his arm, of his will. He strikes a tree. Again, again. Each movement faster, cleaner, sharper. The sound of wood breaking becomes his rhythm. It is no longer chaos, it is control. He throws it. The spear cuts through the air, lands with precision in the soil. He walks to it slowly, his breath steady, his eyes calm. Around him, others watch. They learn from his motion, imitating what they see. And for the first time, knowledge is not born, it is shared. The world grows smaller. The hunter is becoming something greater, the maker, the teacher. We have seen the birth of the first tool, the spark of thought, and the rise of cooperation. But the story of humanity had only just begun. Now, let us go back to the age before memory, when the earth was wild and every dawn was a question of survival. This was the prehistoric era, a time before writing, before cities, before names. The world was colder, vast, and untamed. Gigantic creatures, mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and woolly rhinos roamed the plains, while small groups of humans wandered through forests and mountains, searching for food, fire, and shelter. They were hunter-gatherers, people whose entire lives were shaped by the rhythm of nature. Their days were ruled by hunger, their nights by fear. Every discovery, a spark, a stone, a flame, was not just progress, it was survival. They lived in small groups called tribes, usually no more than 20 or 30 people. Families and companions, bound together not by law or power, but by need. Every member mattered. The strong hunted. The quick gathered fruits and roots. The wise remembered the seasons, the tracks, and the places where water could be found. Their homes were simple, made from branches, animal hides, and bones. They built near rivers, caves, or open plains where they could see danger coming. Every place they settled told a story, of cold nights, of firelight dancing on stone walls, of hands learning to shape the world around them. Food was never certain. They hunted deer, bison, and mammoth, but also ate berries, nuts, fish, roots, and insects. Nothing was wasted. Every bone, every skin, every fragment of the hunt was used to build, to wear, or to survive. But survival was not enough. Something inside them wanted more. Around the fire, as the wind whispered through the trees, they began to communicate, first with gestures, then with sounds, and finally with meaning. The first words were born from need: fire, danger, food. From those simple sounds, entire worlds would later be built. And from those first shared fires came something greater than survival: belonging. They began to paint what they saw. Deep inside caves, they left marks: hands, animals, hunts frozen in ochre and charcoal. These were not decorations. They were messages, memories, visions of what they feared and what they dreamed of. These were the first stories ever told. Proof that thought had become imagination, and imagination had become memory. And as their minds evolved, so did their tools. The sharp stone became a knife, the stick became a spear, the spear became a symbol of power. They discovered fire, and with it, they changed everything. Fire gave them warmth, light, and protection. But more than that, it gave them time. Time to rest, time to think, time to dream. Around those flames, the first ideas of community and purpose were born. They learned to plan, they learned to teach, they learned to remember. And little by little, the world around them began to change, not through chance, but through choice. The first human settlements began to appear. What once was chaos began to take shape. They carved stones not only to hunt, but to build. They learned to follow herds and seasons, to predict the paths of life. Then came a moment that changed everything: agriculture. When humans planted the first seed, they unknowingly planted civilization. The hunter became a farmer. The wanderer became a settler. Seeds replaced footsteps. Villages replaced caves. And from the soil, a new kind of power was born: the power to stay. With stability came abundance, and with abundance came thought. They began to shape clay into vessels, bone into needles, stone into idols. They tamed dogs, goats, and sheep, their first companions and protectors. They built shelters that could last through seasons, and for the first time, they could plan for tomorrow. They also began to gather not only for survival, but for ritual. They buried their dead. They painted their gods. They wondered about the stars. Curiosity became faith, and memory became myth. The human mind was no longer content with what it could touch. It sought what it could imagine. As millennia passed, the prehistoric world slowly gave birth to the first farmers, builders, and dreamers. They raised stones to mark the heavens, built villages that would one day become cities, and carved symbols that would one day become writing. The first languages took form, and stories began to travel across generations. The fire that once frightened them now united them. The tools that once served for survival became the foundations of culture. They learned not just to adapt, but to transform. Each generation improved upon the last. Stones became bronze, bronze became iron, and iron forged the path to history itself. What began as survival had become mastery. Humanity no longer followed nature, it shaped it. They built monuments, they counted the stars, they learned to measure time, and though their tools changed, the same instinct that guided that first-hand striking stone still lived within them: the will to create, to improve, to understand. From those nameless tribes came everything we now call civilization: art, language, technology, and belief. The courage to explore, the instinct to invent, the need to connect, all were born in the fires of that forgotten age. So when we look back at those first humans, we are not looking at strangers. We are looking at the very beginning of ourselves. Their struggles were our foundation. Their discoveries became our destiny. Their fires still burn in us. Because everything that we are, every word, every dream, every piece of knowledge was born from them, from a spark, a stone, and the will to survive.